Hello everyone! Welcome to the first episode, our first guest episode, with the wonderful Grace.
Mason. Now, Grace is a very dear friend of ours. She does a lot of art, and we thought who better to have our first episode of a guest on than her, because she's absolutely wonderful. We did have a few slight errors during the filming of this podcast.
We ran into a few issues, but we're learning as we go, and it's a collaborative, creative experience.
Exactly.
So the camera did die, I think, about like 30 minutes in, but we've still got all the audio. So if you're watching it's only for 5 minutes, by the way, it's not too bad. If you're watching on YouTube, then we're going to insert some of Grace's art because, again, it's stunning. So we thought that would be a good way to remedy it.
Yeah.
But we fixed the issue in the future. But bear with us. We're trying our best.
Yeah. And if you're listening on a podcast, it won't affect you, so you're fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it really. But hope you enjoy, guys. Yep. And show some love to Grace Mason.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming onto our podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
No
Thank you
worries.
for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just been sort of, because obviously uni is fastly approaching third year, so I've just been relaxing, doing a bit of art, a bit of music, meeting people. It's been really nice. Really nice.
Is it like the calm before the storm kind of thing?
Yeah, because I know I need to get a job at some point before uni, and it's just gonna be like chaos. So I'm just putting it off.
Slide press isn't gonna.
No, slider press is not. No, sadly.
It's too far away now.
Way too far away.
Yeah.
Just it's
Do you have
not.
any ideas of where you're gonna try, or?
I think my strategy is amend my CV so it looks like a CV. Print it out, and then
Nice.
Before it was so bad, it was like a tea table.
Nice.
And it was just like, I've worked here, please hire me. And then I was giving everyone like, you've been really shifty, like giving everyone the cider, like handing in my CV because I was so embarrassed about it.
It's like you're handing in your manifesto for something.
Yeah, exactly. It was so bad. So I need to amend that and then just beg. So
Yeah.
I imagine like pub or bar or that kind
You've
of
done that before. And
student spiel.
Standard stuff.
You're very personable, Grace. I'm sure you'll excel at whatever you
Thank
do.
you.
You know what I mean?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
And what about you, Henry? How have you been? What have you been up to?
Well, what haven't I been up to?
Oh, okay.
I saw Brian
Oh,
Butterfield in Cardiff.
hello.
Ooh.
It's like, I can't remember if you ever saw it. It was that like sort of time era in TV where it was a lot of like satirical humour. It's the Bush era.
Yeah.
But I can't even explain the guy, but like his whole persona is this businessman. He's Brian Butterfield.
Yeah.
And he's, again, I'm going to butcher this if anyone knows Brian Butterfield. I'm really sorry. I used to love Brian Butterfield, but it's just like his whole thing is like a seminar where he's pretending to like teach you how to be like start your own business. And it's just god awful. Like everything's atrocious. It's like the Butterfield diet, which is 1 piece of lettuce and 1 bean. And he's like, sign up to the Brian Field diet now. But he wears this whole fat suit, like his whole like makeup and everything.
Oh my God,
it looks so good.
Wow.
It's so good.
Like
But I watched that with Izzy, and it was great. It was so fun.
Good.
And I've been back down to Devon. I've been doing all sorts of bits, and then working on this stuff.
Lovely stuff.
What about you, Jacob?
I've been working quite a lot. I work at a Pan-Asian restaurant in Bristol City Centre. Big up Four Wise Monkeys.
Yeah.
And the hours are finishing late, and so I got back at about midnight last night. And sleep procrastination is something I have a real passion for, it seems. So I was meant to go to bed around 2 to 3 for today, and I got to bed at 5 a.m.
That's punk rock.
So that's punk rock as fuck. So I am kind of knackered, but also I've had a coffee and a half, and so I'm in that weird limbo state between like catatonic, not sure what's going to happen to me, and it's like raring to go. So here we are. And I think that's a lovely way to begin our podcast.
Yes,
Great way to
I
be,
think
yeah.
that's the best way to do it.
So Grace, we know you from our dear friend James from home.
Yes.
You're his lovely girlfriend. but obviously you're so much more than that as well. So just tell us a little bit about like what you do at university, what you're currently up to, just in general, and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah. So I am going to university. I go to Bristol Uni, and I do music. I'm from Hertfordshire, north of London, and yeah, just going into my third year right now, trying to do as many creative things as I can feasibly do. Quite scatterbrained, but I'm really excited for third year. I'm excited to get involved doing more music and art and stuff.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. So what I'm going to ask about you, so we're here to talk about, this is going swimmingly. I'm going to ask you about your art, Grace. So Grace, you're an amazing musician, but that's, well, obviously you do that a lot. But like, that's not the, I'm not going to say it's not the field you have the most passion for, but like, art's more of like the passion currently.
It's been a very like continuous thing for me.
Whereas like, obviously you're a phenomenal musician, but like, that's something you're going through, I don't know, more like traditional routes. Do it, whereas like art and your painting in particular was something that you've just done throughout your entire life.
So
just give us like the timeline of
the
like,
timeline.
If that's right.
So I did art like pretty consistently throughout my life. Like even when I was little, I would say I'm quite a creative person, and I'm a very visual learner as well, and I would like make clothes out of like fabric and clothes and colours, and so I always was doing art, especially like drawing and painting. And then when I got to sort of 15, 16, because I've sung throughout my life as well. But sort of 15, 16, started picking up the guitar, getting involved with music in my town. And then...
So was that late?
Yeah, it was really late. And I had to like... God, it was so stressful because I do classical singing. And I had to like fast track my like grade 1 to diploma and do it like so frequently.
Because you need that. Well, like, do you need that to like go to like a music course for uni? But
well, you needed at least grade 8 to get onto this course because this course is very classically trained based.
I get you.
So I did that all very quickly. Was in bands a little bit, sort of tinkering about, but I was still very involved with art, and I sort of straddled those two. And then when I was I was going to do art, but then university when I was deciding, and then it was a very like rash decision, like the night before I switched to music, because I thought, because it's a very classical course, I could learn a lot from music and the music industry, and it's a lot more, I feel I need the discipline of a degree to carry on improving with music, whereas art felt like it would just be there.
I get you.
So that idea of like the structure of that course enables, with music, because it can be a binary thing, which is about learning those skills and building them. With art, I guess it might lack the fluidity that you like.
I think I've got a lot of friends who go to uni to do art, and they've like a lot of them have found that it does the regimented aspect of doing art is quite difficult for them, and it has made them lose a lot of passion for it.
That's interesting.
So I just felt like it would be the best thing, and also career-wise, like to say I've got a degree in music and then pursue art, or maybe pursue music, but it gives you like going to this university with a certain level of prestige. It gives you like a good thing to say on a CV, being like, I do music at Bristol, and so I am able to do like an academic thing as well as a creative thing.
Yeah, great.
That's really, really nice.
Specifically about your art, I think, should we touch on that? Should we go into that? I feel like it might be good to give the listeners and viewers a bit of context about it. So more about the process. What do you work in? What's your style, and how do you what's your outputs, I guess?
Okay. So I mainly paint. I do drawings as well with ink and oil pastels, but I mainly paint with oil and acrylic. I paint very colourful, sort of like impressionistic-esque I'm not a very realistic painter by any means, and I paint a lot of forms, especially like female forms and nature as well, because I grew up in the countryside, and that's been very important
big time.
for me. So yeah.
What is it that's like drawn you to like still like
Still life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's drawn you to like still life and like female forms and things like that?
I think, well, with still life, I think it literally is. I grew up. I was very lucky to grow up. My house is literally backing onto the feeder canal, and then it's the like Grand Junction canal, and there's like loads of reservoirs and fields, and I was very privileged. It's a very beautiful place to grow up in, and I think I was lucky enough to appreciate that throughout my life, and it's not been a case of me getting older and now appreciating it.
Yeah.
So I would, and my friends as well are very creative at home, and we'd just sort of sit in fields, and I'd find myself just sitting and painting, and it brings me a lot of like peace and solace. So that's why I gravitate towards like more naturey based things.
Yeah.
Especially because I like the contrast of me having quite a colourful art style, but also doing like natural things.
Yeah.
And then with forms, female forms, I think a lot of them are like a reflection of myself and how I'm feeling, and like physically, because obviously I'm a woman. And I had a lot of problems when I was younger, and I felt like drawing forms continuously was a form of therapy almost. It just I've gravitated towards it, and it feels really natural and important to do for me.
No, great.
Awesome.
Do you think that vulnerability of, the nude and the idea of female anatomy, do you think that vulnerability, obviously, it might be a self-reflection, but also as like an output in the world, what do you think that says maybe about your art and maybe about art in general? It's kind of a long one.
Yeah, well, no, I think it's a really important thing, because obviously the process of painting is very human. You're you're seeing things, you're perceiving things in your own way, but also capturing like humans and people. I think it's like a really easy way to connect with people, and I think also it's not this like avant-garde art where you like go to a gallery and you don't understand anything, and it's a very easy thing to connect with. And also I had problems eating when I was younger, and I found, and a lot of people in my life did as well, and I found drawing normal people and just like my parents, my friends, that was like a massive help in seeing a lot of beauty, because you're not seeing it as a body, it's just like a beautiful thing to paint. And I think that was very important, and a lot of my friends have done the same who did art, and it's been really helpful for them.
That's really lovely, because it makes you really appreciate what's going on around you, and like taking the details and the things that you love about the things, as opposed to like, I don't know, like I'm not like an artist in the same means as you are, so, and I know I'd very much be like trying to like do things right rather than like trying to capture the essence of something. But I think the way that you're describing it just means like you're just finding the beauty in the people and the world around you, which I think is really, really nice, because like it's quite easy as like an artist, or as anyone really, to just be like quite dismal about the world around you, and like hyperfixate on the things that you think are horrible and like dark and not very pleasant, pretty much. And I think what you're doing there just has like a very like healthy and like beneficial way to like change your perception of those kinds of things. Which is good.
I think it's important as well, because it opening yourself up to that, well, for me personally, it's provided a lot of therapy with me and my perception of the world, which does sound very pretentious, but I think it like actually is very true.
No, absolutely.
There's a reason why art therapy is a real thing.
Completely. I think it's so important.
But I think I think it transcends all those mediums. And even for DJ going drama, it's still you performing a role and being an actor or whatever you are. It is a form of escapism, but also a touch into yourself and that reality of that inner sort of like dialogue that you have. And that's what I love about acting. That's why I love your work as well. You can see there's that bit of you.
And with your photography as well.
But like, it's all about that like individual fingerprint on it,
Yeah.
and how that applies.
It's that like distinct quality of the individual making it, which you just kind of feel in everything that happens.
And I think that's what particularly your art does really well, because you can see your personality, I think, within it, and that's always, I think, a good sign of some good art.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on. Well, still on the.
Well, wait.
theme of art.
Before that, we had like a little interview like a while ago to talk about like just the general gist of this, and I remember you talking to me about how so you do like still life and like your style of art, and how being true to your own art. And I remember us talking that like you're very true to your own art in a way that's maybe you don't necessarily mean to all the time, but like you said you almost struggle to do any other style of art or like any.
Yeah. I think so. I've pretty consistently been very colourful and not like I said, super realistic. And that was throughout my life. And then A level was more like regimented, and I found myself trying to push myself to do other things, and it just really is not natural to me, and it feels like it just instantly becomes a chore. So it's whether it's a good thing or not, but I think I'm glad. I think I've found my style when I know what I really love doing. And I think I'm very lucky to have that. But I think it was doing A levels, or like people asking me for little commissions that are just like a dog, a hyper realistic dog, or like.
That's not your kind of thing.
It's just I think also very confusing to look at the art I make and be like, change it, do it differently.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Have you got any words of advice for anyone who like hasn't necessarily found that style yet? And similar to me, I was shooting since I was 12, and I sort of just continued the style that I always had. That's great. I've experimented with things, but like it makes me sometimes feel like I'm like, oh, maybe I should try something else. And if you were to tell someone who's like, I'm getting into painting, I'm getting into creative work, and I don't feel like I have that sort of fingerprint, as I was describing, that niche, what would you say, or any advice for someone assisting in that process?
I mean, I think what it is what catches your eye in your life, what's like sparks joy for you, what makes you feel comfortable, and whatever that is, maybe just sit down and draw it, and keep drawing it in different styles, and just keep trying. I think I was quite lucky in the sense that I just decided I liked this and I was going to do this.
Sure.
But I think just try and be kind to yourself and just do what feels natural to you, whether you think it objectively looks good or not.
Yeah, that's great.
If it feels truly natural to you, then that is the right thing you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Even if your art changes and your style changes, you right then and there, if it feels right, then just keep doing that.
No, brilliant.
Nice. Yeah, and you just explore what your opportunities, because also like obviously like I feel like you've established your style now, but like when you first started, I feel like you probably didn't just go straight for that style. You probably like try and do different things, and you're like, fuck, like some of this is a bit harder.
Yeah.
Some of this like feels disgusting and like unnatural. Not disgusting, it's the wrong word.
No, I know what you mean. But it's like also when you're younger, you want, because I think we're going to talk about like art history.
Yeah, for sure.
And that, but I got very into looking at art. I just love art history, and I love looking at artists and their process and different movements and stuff, and I think that has helped me as well, like formulate my own style, because I've seen these things and like that is what I want. But when you're younger, I imagine when you're drawing, you just want to make it perfect. To be like, I'm good at this. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this is amazing.
Yeah. I think that's something I had when I was younger. Like I'd see people who, even like when I was 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like from a very young age, I was like, yeah, it's not for me. And like realistically, if I tried, I'd be so much better now. But like I was very much of that. I wanted this to be perfect and wanted it to look good.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't do that immediately because I was a child, I just didn't try to pursue it any further. And I kind of wish I'd done that now in hindsight. Obviously, I can start now, and I probably won't. But it's the kind of thing that I wish I'd done, because you just get to explore, and like there's no pressure on any beginning artist in any field or whatever to be amazing. You just want to explore and grow within that.
No, completely.
Discipline.
I think it's a very difficult thing to try art when you're younger. It's also a very difficult thing to try and do art when you're older, because you expect yourself to be so good at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you know, when you pick up, like, trying to play a song on the piano or something, and you don't play piano, and you're like, why can my fingers not move? Why is this not working? And I think it's just allowing yourself to be a bit shit. And you don't also not feeling the need to market your art and show your art to everyone. Like, it truly can be for you if you want it to be for you.
No, that's great. Do you think there's anything in, you know, talking on that idea of gratification, like instant gratification through your art, do you think there's anything in the need within particularly modern art now, this idea of, like, you know, I know a few photographers I've followed, and it just seems like everything's going right for them constantly, and it's like, good for you, obviously that's really successful and well done, but it makes someone who has to try quite a lot and make errors, and, you know, and it's not to say they're not having issues, like, I'm sure they have problems as well, but I find when I go through social media, it's just like, oh my god, this person's got a brand deal with Adidas, and you know, just like crazy stuff that I'm like, I couldn't even dream of doing as a creative, and they've got like this beautiful style. And do you think there's anything in that within, or like the struggle between the idea that when you're making art, it's that instant gratification, putting it on social media, getting responses, or, and like as you said, like making art for yourself, like what do you think is the main thing that separate those two things?
Yeah, I think there is a big thing with, like, gratification. That's a huge thing for artists, because it's a very, like, I think every field to do with art or anything creative, like, it births a lot of insecurity. That is like, you are riddled with this kind of self-doubt, and I think a lot of people will obviously, when they're very happy with something or there's an achievement, you need that validation of, like, okay, you've done well, you are good in this field, because it's so competitive and it's so demoralizing and scary, so people are going to put up the best things. But I think when you first start making stuff, there is no pressure to do anything like that, and I think also it's very important to show your process of finding your style or things that you're not necessarily happy with, because it, for yourself, it's just being true to yourself, but it's also really helpful for other young people or people who are starting out in this really scary industry. And by no means I'm like, I haven't like made it or anything. I just like make art in my room. But I think it's really important to show, like, a shit painting or something you're not happy with and talk about that if you are going to share your art, because it's just,
I think that's really rare as well. You rarely see that, because again, it's that high, you feel the hierarchy of like the best artists, and they've got
and no one else does it really.
No, for sure.
No one does it. No. It's the same thing, it's the whole thing with social media, and it's in every single avenue. It's not just creative, but it's like no one will put up that they have done something wrong, or they feel shit about this, or they look shit, or whatever. So it's a scary place to start and be like, I'm going to be the person to show that this shoot didn't go well, or you had a bad show, or I did a shit painting, or like whatever. So being the first person, it's a very brave thing to do. And I don't know if I've even mastered it, but I think it's very important.
Do you think have you struggled to market yourself? Have you found like sort of bridging the gap into the commercial world a difficult thing? Because again, we were sort of talking about this before we started recording, this idea of like, it feels very egotistical to talk about your work and like making money or whatever, but like I think it's okay. I think it's okay, and we should talk about selling our art and how we do it. How have you found, you know, leaping into that world, I guess?
I get so embarrassed talking about, like, I like talking about art and the fact I do art, and I'm comfortable now doing that, but still I get so embarrassed if someone asks me to do a painting, or anything like that, just talking about like the price of my art, how much time goes into it, and completely, I think when you start, and I'm now in the position where I like do undervalue my art, I'll be like, oh, I'll give it to you for a tenner. I have spent 15 hours on this, like 40 quid on materials, but you can have it for a tenner. Do you know what I mean? So it's still this like really difficult thing. But I think you should allow yourself to be a little bit egotistical at the start, or even just, because you can't, it's very difficult to know your own worth. So I think you can be a bit hyper. I'm good at this. because otherwise it's just like a minefield. It's so difficult to navigate.
Yeah,
and also
100%.
like you've got like we were saying this as well. Like we're talking about like someone who's a musician. I think it was like your friend Benji.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saying like you just got to really back yourself and like kind of just. You've got to sell yourself and you've got to back yourself, because if you don't do it, who the hell is going to do it for you? And like people aren't going to buy something from someone who's like, ooh, I'm not too sure about this, all this stuff. Like you've just got to really, even if you don't necessarily believe it, you've got to find the things you do believe in within it. And just really show support for yourself. Like I'm going back to like the whole thing of like critiquing your own art and critiquing your process. Like I've done loads of shows in the last year with the uni and stuff, and often like I'll come off stage and I'll just be like, I really didn't feel happy about that. Yeah. But it's the kind of thing that quite often only the artist knows that like something's gone wrong, and like the audience or whoever's viewing your art is just like amazed to see the final product. It's like, wow, this is beautiful. And it's the kind of thing that sometimes you've got to separate the fact that like you creating the art is different to someone perceiving the art.
Yeah, completely.
Like, you know the entire process behind it. You know like the little tweaks and stuff that you would have started again at, or like for me, like where I've dropped a line or like I've said something in a way I didn't really want to say it like that. And I know like when I've made a mistake, but no one else does, and so it's like that's not an issue. And also those mistakes also they bring out authenticity to what you're delivering, be it like photography or be it like art or acting or anything. It's creating something that's true. Yeah. And I think that's fine.
And also like it's a massive privilege and it's a massive blessing to be artistically inclined. Like a lot of people, I'm sure you've got a lot of people in your life like, oh fuck, I wish I could paint or I wish I could play an instrument or blah blah blah, or I wish I could take photos or act the way you do, and like you're so disarming. That's amazing, and it is like a massive privilege to be like willing to spend time and work on something that isn't an insecure thing. Like and so I think like that whole idea of like your own art but other people are just seeing the final product is like a massive thing. And I think just being kind to yourself, because it's you're in a great position when you're like I really want to do this and I want to spend time doing this, although it's a dangerous career to go down, and like I just think it's great.
No, for sure.
Okay, so we might have covered some of this stuff already, but I just want to talk about like how you really got into art in the first place. Like what's like you said it's been a constant for you, and that you like made some like that you made clothes and stuff. Oh my god, I'm on the wrong page, sorry. And how you've made clothes and stuff, but like where did like your beginning of like painting and drawing and all these things begin? Like was it at a really young age or?
I sort of. So when I was growing up, I did sort of come to realise, because I was quite extroverted when I was growing up, like when I was really little, and then I came to realise I do actually quite like spending time by myself. I'm also a triplet, and I have 2 twin brothers who are best friends. So, and I have no other siblings. So I would spend a lot of time by myself. And that was never a problem to me. They're also great, love them. But it
boys.
would be the boys. Like playing around with mud and shit, that wasn't really for me. So I found myself like just in my own world. And I would just like write little songs and start drawing, and that became a thing, like a lot of solace, and I had a lot like enjoyment genuinely by myself. And then I sort of like as school sort of spurred by school and doing art at school, I became more interested in researching art and like what's behind my favourite painters and my favourite movements and stuff that I would hear in school, and then like go back and research about it. I go to a lot of galleries, and my mum as well is very into art. She's very visual and she likes colour and texture, and so I think being around that as well was a great thing for me to properly get into it.
Well, I was going to ask, that was like, for some people the non-nurturing environment as you're like sort of inner child, having maybe a difficult situation has enabled them to produce what art they've created. It's the driving force, because maybe it comes from pain, maybe it comes from trauma. For some people, they have the nurturing environment and that enables them to feel confident and do it. Do you think you know, if you don't want to talk about it, if it's anything, you know, that's sensitive, but obviously, like, do you think you had that nurturing environment or not? And do you think, you know, being a child and being able to have those creative liberties helped you become the artist you are now?
Yeah, I think so. My parents are like the best people in the world. Like, I feel so blessed to have them. I think they've always been very happy for us to do anything, and they've never forced us to do anything. They just wanted us to be happy and healthy, and I think that was a great environment to grow up in. And then sort of when I got to 14 onwards, I struggled quite a bit with, I've got like mental health issues, and I struggled with that like quite a bit then onwards. That's sort of when it first emerged, and I had problems with eating and stuff, so I found a lot of solace in just painting, and that's where the female form comes in, and the like comfort and calmness of nature and the environment I was in. So I felt that's when it sort of ramped up, where it became like almost a compulsion. It was very therapeutic.
It becomes part of your psyche, basically.
Yeah,
for sure.
I remember you saying like you literally like paint for like upwards of like 10 hours.
Oh god, yeah. Like I go out, there's a field across the river, and there's a field by my house, and I would sit and I would paint for hours, and then I'd walk through, and there were these beautiful woods, paint in there, and then move onwards, and it would be sunset, and there would be like like birds and deer and stuff, and I paint that, and it just was like the best way I could have spent my day. And I would feel no like qualms with just not spending time with my friends, because I would just go and be by myself, and I felt so happy.
It sounds so peaceful.
It's very peaceful.
Very ethereal.
It's quite centering as well. Just grounding, just like to really witness the world around you.
Yeah, and like sitting down on the grass, it was great. I feel very lucky that I had that, and it was a massive source of comfort for me.
Yeah, brilliant. Have you got any words of advice for people who maybe, you know, don't feel secure in their art? You know, you had this really lovely avenue with this sort of escapism to find your solace, and for someone who might be struggling, or someone, whether it's whatever their medium is, whether it's art, you know, creative stuff, do you think, well, what's your sort of thinking process on, you know, let's say I'm someone who's struggling, and I need to find an output, and I need to find a place, a safe space for me to create this art, or maybe they don't know that. But how did you? I mean, because you had that asset in front of you, you had that forest, you had the green space. What would you say to someone who might not have that, and maybe is in a situation where it's hard to find those spaces?
Like an urban jungle.
Right.
Well, I think just finding, like I said, just finding things that catch your eye. If, say, the sun setting, it's all like nice and warm on the carpet, and it's like light, or I think it's really helpful as well to write, because that bleeds into a lot. It gives you a lot of like creativity, and it bleeds into a lot of other things. Like if I'm just journaling about my life, I will be more like up for doing a painting straight after, or writing a song, or blah blah blah. So I think that's really important.
Like seizing those moments.
Yeah, definitely. And I think writing really helps with that. Because you turn your brain off, because you've got everything out on the paper. And you turn your brain off, and you can.
Did you journal? Do you like?
I've had a journal for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's really
good.
It's really good.
I've tried to journal about 1,000 times, and I'll just end up. I don't know about you, like, because obviously like you're doing it for yourself, but I always think that like eventually like it's gonna be published or something like
really
that. And so like I'm like I'll start my journal, and I start like trying to write this really amazing prose. For any podcast listeners, something is going through the hedge in the background right now. We have no idea what
that is an animal.
That is definitely an animal.
I'll say it's a pigeon.
You know what, mate? I think it could be a cat, you know.
Really?
Well,
that's a big boy.
Why is it not flying? Oh, geezer.
Can you see it?
I can't, I can just see it shaking.
Maybe it's a squirrel.
Oh, maybe a squirrel, yeah.
You just pulled up.
Yeah.
That was terrifying. I just shut
Actually, just drive by.
Anyway.
Sorry. What I was going to say is like, I always just think like I want to write it in some like amazing prose, and then because I want it to sound better than it is, I just end up never doing it. And like for you, like, do you just like do you just like write it and then at some point it just becomes like just easy?
Well, yeah, it would just be, because I definitely had that at the start where it would be a case of I was writing, but it sounds like poetry, and it's like a romanticized version of whatever's going on in my life.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where it would literally be me hungover, being like, I want to die, and then, or just talking about like just things like friends, if you've like fallen out with a friend, or like family, or today I'm going to the shops.
Yeah.
I have no money in my bank account. What am I going to do? Blah, 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 whatever. Like, it literally, if you're writing about the most mundane things, it just gets your, whatever you're thinking, even if you don't realise, it just gets it out. So then you can think a lot clearer. Well, that's what I found anyway.
Yeah.
And it helps as well if you're like I'm trying to get James to journal.
Yeah.
I was talking about this today. I was like, it's not a girly thing. It's an important thing. Yeah. Please do it. Because I think everyone should just have that output.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do a quick pause? Okay, so now, Grace, obviously art's always been like a passion for you, but now you're turning it into something that's commercially viable. How's that been in general, and also how is it like maybe change the way you view your own art and maybe art around you? It's quite a lot to unpack there. So just do what you want to at any point.
I think it's I haven't been thinking about it too much yet.
Yeah.
I definitely will, but I think I'm not sure if I want to do music or art. I'm still straddling that.
How sorry to cut you off immediately. How recently has it been that you started doing commissions and things
super
like
recently, I've always, for people's birthdays and stuff, I love doing a painting because I think it's just it's a bit nicer, even if it's just not that good. It's just a nice thing to receive.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did that quite a bit, and then it's bit student, bit strapped for cash. Maybe I do a commission. So I made an art Instagram, just started putting bits and bobs on there, being like, please pay my rent, help me pay my rent. So literally within the last year, and I haven't got, it's really hard to market yourself, as well as also because I wouldn't say I'm an artist. I like doing art, but I wouldn't say, it's definitely not my how I make money. I just, and it's not my practice, I just like doing it. So it's been very tricky to be like, I'm an artist and you should, my product is good and you should buy it and appreciate it because you like it and it's very good. That's a very tricky thing to grapple with. Also, your own image, I think, comes into play, which I haven't even gone near, but your whole image comes into play a lot, especially recently, with media and social media and blah blah blah. You need to sort of represent your art, and it can't just stand for itself. I think a lot of the time it can't be that I don't know, Andy Warhol being, I'm not comparing myself to Andy Warhol by any means, but I'm a new Andy Warhol, but he obviously looks kooky, and David Hockney, one was crazy Basquiat,
You Banksy, just the allure of who is this person?
Exactly. You have to be a thing as well as having art. And so that has not been a thing that I have looked into too much because I'm wow, I don't really want to do that right now. I don't think I'm ready to market myself fully, because it's really tricky as is, being this is my art, I like it, I think it's okay, and the harder thing is convincing other people to back it and back who you are.
Does it change the way you actually create your art when you are doing a piece for someone as opposed to just a piece for your own pleasure and therapeutic benefit?
I mean, it's the added pressure because you're getting paid for it. So it's you are trying to deliver and produce a product that they would like. It's very weird way to talk about art, but like, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
It kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Because imagine you have that as a lot as well.
Yeah, commissioning work is like...
You're doing a service, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's a job, and the weirdest thing is you make up the price.
Yeah.
That's what's so hard.
Oh
And
my
I think,
God,
like, you know, for you, that idea of being like, I want to make this personal thing for someone, but it's going to be in my style. You know, a lot of people do hourly, and I always struggle with that because, like, yes, I can spend 10 hours just in post on a shoot, and I did an hour on the shoot, but, you know, in reality, like, it's more like, how much do you charge for your creativity? Like, I'm being paid for my outputs, what I've given to them, but often I do shoots and they go, okay, make it your own, let's see what you can do with the camera.
Yeah.
You know, how much is that worth? I don't know.
Exactly.
It's absolutely crazy.
Especially when you're just starting, it's like
yeah.
it's a crazy thing, and also just wanting to because you're starting, you want to please people and you want customers, so you're just like, wow, I'll literally take anything. Like you say a price and it's fine, but then realistically you break it down, it's like I've maybe spent 10 hours 15 hours on a painting, maybe I've spent 4, but
It's like materials
are so expensive, like canvases, paints, it's a lot of time and it's a lot of like continuous thought going into one thing. But yeah, then you don't want to like screw people over. It's a really hard thing to navigate.
Yeah, I suppose also like a lot of your commissions you're going to be doing are for people who you know. And so, like,
yeah, especially now it's not.
It's going to be a lot of students, etc. And so this will be like 80 quid. I'm like, okay, that's my food shop for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I definitely haven't got to the place where I can just be like, this is my price.
Yeah.
And because I've really, really recently started doing commissions, I just don't. It's nice enough people appreciating what you're doing.
Yeah.
You feel it feels wrong to then put a price on it, but you are like, I guess, like,
you need money.
Yeah, you need money.
You need to be paid for your work.
This is the thing. Like in an ideal world, if everyone could just, obviously, I think I see a lot like people who are more well off often go straight for the arts because there aren't any of those like, I don't know, like there's no like entry requirements because like there's nothing to hold them back, like getting the material costs or like a chance to go to theatres or like apply to drama schools or like get amazing camera equipment and stuff, and that's something that kind of like goes remiss when like you're doing it all off your own back. You're like, okay, I do love doing this, but like I can't just do it exclusively for the love.
It's just not a career that is supported by the environment we're in, and that is fine, I guess, but then I think it's really tricky to acknowledge that and be like, okay, I know this, so therefore I can actually charge more than like 3p for a painting I've spent loads of time on and money or whatever. It's a really tricky thing, like marketing yourself. Which I don't really think you have to do as much in any other field.
I definitely agree because like when I'm acting, I don't have to sell
like
my
auditions
acting and stuff. I just do like an audition. I'm like, okay, me selling myself is the performance. I don't have to then justify everything I did within it.
Yeah, but like all of these auditions, like it's a part of you. It's your voice. So I imagine it's like really, it's a really stressful thing.
It is. Yeah, I've had some auditions where I'm like, I once got told for a play like it was one of the best auditions someone had ever seen. I didn't get a call back, and I was like, you can't be saying it was a
what does that mean?
But it's just like sometimes like for acting in particular, it's just like a certain quality that like it's not personal at all. It's just like someone has something that you don't. It's not like an actual like discernible like skill quality. It's just like that unique quality to someone. And that's quite a weird thing.
It's a very hard thing to not take personally. It's like, oh, so you just don't like
It's like,
me.
should I just change everything about myself?
I'll just change it so I can get the role.
It's awesome. Sounds amazing.
I'd love to do that.
My self-esteem is amazing.
Have you got any final thoughts? Anything that you think you can put out into the hemisphere of creativity?
Ooh, God, I don't know. Just, I think, do art if you want to do art. Back yourself, and just do it for fun. It's just fun, and I think it's really important, especially nowadays. And I think, I don't know. I think it's a very special thing if you're inclined to do it.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen. Okay, Grace. what are your socials? What are your plugs? Where can people find you? Is what we're trying to say here.
I've got an Instagram called Gracie's Room.
Lovely.
Because I paint in my room. Really, I know. It took a while to come up with that one.
That's genius.
Yeah, I know. With 2 eyes.
Lovely.
And yeah.
Cool. We'll put all these links in our link tree and our description on the video, etc. Grace, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Knew that going into it, but it's surpassed our expectations, I'm sure.
I hope the listeners and viewers enjoyed that. I think. Yeah, Grace, you're a legend. That was awesome.
Legend.
Really, really cool.
You guys are legends.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. What are you doing with the rest of your day?
I am maybe going to see Izzy at the Lanes.
Big up Dwell.
Yeah.
Big up Dwell. Bye, guys.
Very excited.
Guys and gals.
And then I'm going to a housewarming.
Lovely.
Which I'm very excited for. Yeah.
Hope you have a good time.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed Artifex podcast.